You're gonna have to move. You got sound now? Probably. Yeah, cool. Okay. Did you mute your?
Yes.
Okay.
Mine's muted.
You may have to let some people in.
Okay, here, you want this?
Yep. Yeah, you have that pulled up.
Hi, Robin.
Hi.
I can't see what's on there. So, can you guys hear me from here? I don't know if this is too far away or not.
I can hear you.
Perfect.
I can hear you.
Good. Part of this whole thing is kind of showing how we feel might work best for setting up the aid stations if you're going to be working at an aid station. So guess we'll wait a few more minutes just to let everybody get in here that's coming. We're recording it as well, so if you have to jump off early or you want to share it with somebody who couldn't make it, we'll put it out on our Facebook page and stuff, make it available, but just in case. There should be a link to where you can access it later. So we're what, 19 days away, I believe. I think I checked that today. So it's coming pretty close. We've got about 207 or 8 registered runners. So that's a pretty big jump from last year with about a little more than 50 more runners this year. So pretty excited about that. The handbook, the volunteer handbook is pretty much done. After we get through this, I'll go ahead and put that out for you all. It'll be on our website under the volunteer link, and then I'll make it available from Facebook. Where else do we have a Facebook group page,
The Endurance
a
Run
Facebook
page.
main page, and then anybody who's gone ahead and signed up through Ultra Sign Up to volunteer, I'll send you all out an email, and then it'll be it'll actually go out with your supplies in a folder at every aid station. So you'll have like the guide that has all the details about, kind of guidelines for working the aid station, what to do in case of an emergency, all that kind of stuff, communications, your time that you'll be there, kind of thing. We're about, is there anybody else that's trying to get in? I can't tell.
No.
Look like it. We're about 85% of the way done with assignments. So I expect to finish that up probably this evening, Monday evening, and have everybody that is at least signed up or emailed me, let them know where they're going to be. And if there's some issues with that, or I missed something, like you said you wanted to be somewhere with somebody, we can switch those kinds of things around. It's not a huge deal. I feel like we're in a pretty good shape for most of our aid stations with people and stuff. And if you know more people that are interested, go ahead and send them the link. Hopefully, we're not going to ever turn volunteers down for sure, especially some of these late aid stations. If you could, if you're working one of them and you can bring more people and maybe work in shifts, that's probably super helpful to get some sleep maybe through the night, unless you just want to stay up for 12 to 15 hours straight. But that's on you. So, but we do appreciate everybody who's signed up. And again, if you can find some more people to sign up, send them to that Ultra Sign Up page, or just have them message me or email me. So the So the handbook is about to come out. It'll be out this week. I'm gonna I've got it here with me, so I'm gonna scroll through it so I don't miss anything. And then if at any time during this you have any questions, go ahead and shout them out. And we can answer them. We'd probably just better go through them as you're thinking of them.
Or if you're not doing video and sound, you can throw them in the chat and I'll read them to Brian for you.
Yeah. So the first thing, a lot of you guys have probably worked at aid stations or at ultras before. We'll have 3 locations where main supplies are picked up, and most of those are just based on like where proximity the aid station is to like our main locations where we're going to have supplies. So one is at Pickett Group Camp where the start finish is. The other is at Bandy Creek where a couple, 3 main aid stations are based out of there, and the other location is in Stearns, Kentucky. If you are coming out Thursday to like pre-race stuff, to packet pickup and helping with that, or want to participate in that, and you're going to be working an aid station and you'd rather just pick them up Thursday night, that's totally fine. If you want to come early Friday morning and pick up supplies and then head straight to your aid station, you can do that as well. I guess one big thing I should make sure everybody is aware of is that this is a Friday morning start, not a Saturday morning start. It probably was pretty clear in all the paperwork or whatever the announcements we put out there, but just in case you didn't catch that part, it is a Friday morning start. The race will start at 10 a.m. That's Central Time out of Pickett Group Camp. And then we're doing something a little different with the start this year because of the Corona issue. We're going to have an elite start starting at 10 o'clock. And basically all that is anybody who wants to come out and start more of in like a competitive environment where we're lining people up at the start together and there's one mass start. It's a mass start, but not really, because probably only be between 20, 30 people that start in that start, and they'll be spread out and stuff. So that begins at 10 a.m. Central Time, and then we'll break down a little bit, and 15 minutes later we'll start more like a time trial start where runners will be dropped off at the group camp, and as they are ready to go, they can just cross the starting line and get started. Can everybody still hear? Okay, thanks. So from about 10:15 until noon, noon is the official like end of time, where the last time you can start the race. We're giving them this big window to start at any time. So if they feel more comfortable with when crowds may be a little bit lesser, they can come a little bit later. We're anticipating a lot of people will probably come early on, but we're not going to throw them into a big group. We're going to kind of single file them, or if they come with some running partners or training partners and they want to run like in a group of 3 or whatever, that's fine as well. They'll be required to wear a mask and get temperature checked in the morning as they're checking in and getting their bibs and stuff. So that's basically how the start will work. And then they will proceed onto the first aid station to Pickett State Park, and then they're working their way to Bandy Creek and then north up into Kentucky, and then eventually back down to the group camp. So that's kind of the flow of the race. Let's see. So you'll, in your packet, you'll see where you can pick up supplies. And if you have any questions about that, or like I said, if you want to pick them up early, we can make arrangements for that. The other thing that we're going to try to do once we get all these assignments for you is, if you are on Facebook, I try to get everybody into a Facebook group with their volunteers that they're working with, so you guys can kind of coordinate some things together, get to know each other if you don't already. If you're already in one of those groups, we'll probably just rename it for the 2020 year, and add people that are going to be working this year. We found it to be a good way for people to communicate with each other beforehand, know who's going to come to where to pick up supplies, and that it just has worked out really well. So if I don't find you on Facebook, I may try to email you and see if I can get your URL for Facebook so I can add you to one of those groups. Let's see here. So that's picking up supplies. Again, we'll have charts and stuff in there with like the aid station times, when they open approximately, and what time their cutoffs are. We'll also have sheets for your aid station that you can put out. You can either attach them to the canopy. That way, as runners are coming in, that's a pretty popular question. They can go ahead and ask, or they can go ahead and look at your sheet, and that way you have a reference as well. Let's see here. So that's some of the basics of kind of getting there. We kind of want everybody to get to their aid station between 30 to 40 minutes ahead of time, so they have time to set up, get the food set up, get water jugs, filled with water and ice and everything. And that way too, if we do get caught by surprise with maybe some faster runners getting out there this year, we're trying to do best we can to estimate every year when kind of the early pack will hit you. We've got it kind of based on an 18-hour race time. It could be a little bit faster this year with the folks we have coming out and with just how the competition might look this year. So if you can get out there a little bit early and get set up, that might be good. So we know you catch those early runners and we're not caught off guard. Some of the main duties you have running an aid station is taking care of the runners as they need food. You'll have supplies. We'll provide all that stuff. Making sure hydration is filled, answering questions, pretty standard stuff. The big thing with this year with COVID is we're just wanting to make sure that we keep you guys as much distance and safe as possible. So we have implemented some guidelines this year to hopefully help with some of that kind of thing. So obviously masks will be required. You guys are probably pretty used to that by now, 6, 7, 8 months of this. We'll have hand sanitizer at every aid station, that when the runners come in, they'll be required to pump hand sanitizer and sanitize their hands before they come in. The other big difference that we're doing this year is with food prep and food serving. There will be nothing. We have like this front buffer table, and that's where we'll have the hydration and the sanitizer. We don't want any of the runners grabbing into bowls and stuff like they have in the past. So there will be no food out in front of the table for runners. That'll all be in the back. We're providing you with 3 tables, one that upfront buffer table, and then 2 tables for doing prep work in the back. And that's where we want you to keep all the food. Most of the food, as much as we can, will be like pre-packaged stuff. So single package of chips or gummies or candies or cookies or whatever it is, as much as we can that's single serving, they're not having to go, even volunteers aren't having to open up and get into. We're trying to do that as much as possible. Things that we can't do that with, certain things like fruit, or some other things. Pickles, those things. We'll have serving trays and baggies where if you're going to cut up an orange for someone and half it out or whatever, peanut butter and jelly the same way. You can cut that up into slices and put them into baggies. And we do provide baggies. We'll have masks for you, unless you have a mask you want to wear, a face covering. And we'll also have disposable gloves, like serving gloves that you've seen at probably every restaurant or fast food place now.
I have the paper hot dog trays, which are just open trays. But if you have someone coming in, feel like they're going to spend some time or sit down and eat some hot food, those paper trays are great for serving like your quesadillas or something like that. We'll give you foam cups for broth, hot water, maybe instant coffee, and then small cups as well for anything else. These are great to put pickles and pickle juice in. You ladle it out with a spoon or a fork, and that way they're still single serve and you're not having to interact as much with that, because I know people are going to be requesting the pickle juice. So we'll make sure to get you a ladle and plenty of these cups.
We are mostly like a cup-free race in the fact that we want runners to bring, their own. They're required to bring their own bottles or bladders and a reusable cup if they can for things like soda. Obviously, their water and hydration can go in their bladders and their bottles, but if they wanted something like soda, we're going to recommend, or we want to recommend that they use something like hopefully a large spout reusable cup that you should be able to pour a thing of Coke into without touching the cup. But I'm going to talk about the water because we're making a change from what we had originally planned, and I'm going to talk to the runners about that as well in an email. Originally, the plan was to have you all assist runners with the water kind of as usual, but not touch any of their containers, their bladders or bottles. We actually went down to Georgia Jewel and helped out at that race, and they had a little bit different approach in that they had runners handle all their water and all their hydration. I mean, obviously Coke and stuff, volunteers assisted with that, but their water that came out of the coolers, obviously the volunteers took care of refilling these and putting ice in them and stuff and mixing the hydration mix, but runners were responsible for filling their own bladders and filling their own water bottles that they brought with them. What I experienced and what I found to be good, and actually talking to the race physician that works our race, Derek Strunk, we found like that would help prevent more person-to-person contact, right? Like there was a lot less volunteers getting up into the faces of runners, a lot less touching of any of their stuff, period. So we're going to move to that method. We feel like that'll be a safer way to just keep the amount of person to person within that social distancing limited. And most of it will be between this buffer then too, which isn't 6 foot, but it is better than, coming around, getting in, touching on their bottles or touching, even if you're just pouring a spout, like you're right up next to somebody and stuff. This should be a little bit safer way to do it. And it allows you guys as volunteers to focus on other things like taking care of the food prep, because that can get busy. As you're making lots of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or grabbing stuff for people, they can come in and they can, we've been going through this thing for 6 months, 7, 8 months now, right? They know how to come in and put their mask on and hand sanitizer and social distance, so they can do that outside of the aid station. They're not to come under the canopy at all for any reason. We'll also have a box of wipes, alcohol swabs that'll be out here where runners can come in if they want to open one up and wipe the spouts on these things. They should all sanitize their hands, but yes, they're going to be dealing with their bottles and stuff. So if they want to go ahead and grab a swab and wipe the spout down, they can do that. And we kind of recommend volunteers doing that periodically as well throughout the day, just to keep everything sanitized and stuff.
Yeah, and something we realized, I'll come back on frame, is that obviously with all this extra precautions and supplies, there is going to be more waste with gloves, masks, alcohol swabs. We've got the cardboard trash cans that will support a trash bag this year, so you can place it next to your table so everybody's got an open place to throw their trash. I know a lot of times, most aid stations, you've got a nice bag tied here, and it always looks closed. Everything falls out. So we've got the nice cardboard stands for them, which is great. Hopefully we can reuse some, and obviously we can recycle the others, but everybody will see them. They'll be another part of the barrier keeping you guys, a little distant from the runners. But that should definitely help out with some of the extra waste that we're going to generate this year.
So does anybody have any questions about some of those things that we just went over? I mean, those are some of the biggest things that are different this year. If you've ever worked aid station before, most of it stays pretty much the same. I mean, you're just taking care of runners and stuff. The big differences this year, we're creating that buffer between you and the runners. Runners are going to be responsible for getting their own hydration. They're going to be required to wear a mask and use hand sanitizer as they come into the aid station. You're going to have gloves and mask on. Those are the biggest thing. We don't want them coming under the tents as well. Same with crew, same with pacers. They're not to come in this space. They know that it's in their guidelines, their handbooks. So that's probably the biggest thing that's going to be different this year. Nothing major. I think the water thing you're going to find is going to actually help you guys focus more on helping runners with other things. As long as you guys keep these things filled up. I talked to runners at the Georgia Jewel who were taking care of their own water, and nobody seemed to have a problem with it at all. It's just they were prepared for it. And
the other thing that's different is the unused drop bag and used drop bag. The 2 stations for drop bags.
Oh yeah, if you are an aid station with drop bags, and there's 4 aid stations out there. It's Bandy Creek, Blue Heron, Duncan Hollow, I believe,
maybe,
and Peters Mountain. I know we have 4 aid stations with drop bags. We're gonna provide you with tarps to just keep those off the ground. Runners are supposed to make sure those are weatherproof to the best of their ability, but we'll give you some tarps and stuff. We are giving you 2 tarps, one for where you can lay out the drop bags that are unused, and hopefully you guys can line those up chronologically by their
bib number.
And then we'll have another tarp for you to put side next to that. We're going to tell runners, like, as they use their drop bags, if they don't give them back to their crew to take, to go ahead and drop that off on the other tarp. Maybe a little bit much, but it's kind of a way to keep those kind of separated, the used and unused ones, just for sanitary purposes. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but hopefully it keeps some things a little bit cleaner out there. So
I don't see any questions, so
can everybody still hear us? Or are we just talking to ourselves?
Yes, they can still
hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions based on what we've gone over right now? Any concerns? Does everybody just want to know where they're going to be?
I think pretty much. I'm not getting any answers.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I'm going to scroll through this and see if there's anything else in here. We will have like a laminated menu that you can put down on the aid station table up front, because that seems to be a thing that you get a lot, is like, well, what do you got, right? And you're constantly answering that question 100 times in the night. So,
and since it'll be laminated, and this may be the only year that we do it, if you guys, we should be able to throw a Sharpie or a pen in with your aid station gear, because you'll have to check in runners. If you guys are making something special, feel free to write it real big on there. They're going to want to know what's special about your aid station. And if you run out of stuff, you can cross it off. Don't feel like these laminate things are the holy grail and they can't be touched. If you guys need to alter them, go ahead and write on them. That's great. They're just laminated to protect the paper so they'll last throughout the entire race for you.
let's see. Not every aid station has a cutoff time. In our minds, we have an approximate cutoff time for every single aid station when we think they need to be coming through there. But there's certain more remote aid stations and some of the early ones, especially, that we don't have strict cutoffs on. So like Laurel Hill, for example, it's out in the middle of nowhere, very hard to get volunteers even out to, but even get our support crew out to, and we aren't going to allow crew out there. To tell you the truth, it's honestly better if runners move on and get to the next aid station at Ledbetter and or an aid station where a crew member could come pick them up, or it's easier to extract them. So that will be pretty clear in your aid station handbook. We'll have all that information in there. As far as actual cutoff times, those cutoff times are pretty strict. I mean, if it says 7 p.m. and the runners are just coming in, they got to get going. Like, we want them out at the cutoff time. We don't want them just strolling in and hanging out for the next 15 minutes trying to recover and get food and tape up their feet or whatever.
Especially really, since they basically get 2 extra hours.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with this the way we're doing this start, we're actually giving runners a little bit longer to run this race than in past years. So it means you guys, the volunteers, are kind of hung out there a little bit longer than we would prefer. So that's why it's important that these cutoffs be pretty strict. Obviously, we want everybody to finish, and we hope everybody does. But if we get too soft on them and allow people to come through, it means volunteers down the line are hung out to dry. They're having to stay there longer. Sweepers are being held up longer and stuff. So these cutoffs are strict. Towards the back end of the race, if you have, especially if you're an aid station captain and you have a couple runners come in like right at your cutoff time and you have any questions, we'll have radio crews, ham radio teams at the aid stations, or at least a radio at your disposal that you can get in contact with me or Shelly and let us know, and we can make a decision, especially if you're talking about the last 2 or 3 aid stations. And but really with the extra time, we're going to be pretty strict about these cutoffs and make sure that we get everybody off the course safe.
And on the flip side, if your sweeper comes through and all your runners are accounted for an hour and a half before your cutoff time, once your sweeper is through or your new sweeping team has left and you guys are cleaned up, radio it in. We'll obviously let you go early. There's no reason to stick around once your sweeper has gone through, unless we're still looking for people on the course. So the flip side is you could go home before your cutoff time as well. So.
And that makes me think about sweepers a little bit. If you end up sweeping a section, of course, it is really important. Two things to this. If you're an aid station volunteer, even if all the runners have come through and you know that because you've checked them all off, and you know without a doubt everybody's come through, you need to make sure you wait for those sweepers to show up, because they're considered part of the course as well, and they may need aid, they may need help with getting a ride, something like that. So make sure your sweepers come. You can shut most of your stuff down. Probably don't want to dump all your water and stuff yet, but just make sure your sweepers come into the aid station before shutting down or before packing up and leaving. Same with if you're sweeping a section. We really want you guys to wait till the previous sweeping crew has come in. If they're running behind and we know it and there's a good reason for it, but we know everybody is cleared, then we can work that out if we want to let you get a little bit head start if you're behind in time. But for the most part, hopefully, we're really thinking that probably a lot of these aid stations will close a lot earlier because we anticipate more people are going to want to take advantage of that longer time. But that being said, there'll probably be people towards the end of the race that they are taking advantage of the extra time, so they will be rolling in closer to the cutoff time. If you give people the extra time, they're going to probably use it. So, but some of the aid stations may end up getting to close a little bit earlier than anticipated. So, if a runner drops at your aid station, the most important thing there obviously is to make sure you record who that person is, get their bib number, make sure that they're dropping. You know, if you want to go ahead and pull their bibs, some people want to hang on to their bibs, but I'm, you know, kind of whatever as far as that goes.
As long as everybody knows.
The important thing is that you know that it's recorded and that it's sent up the line or to all our communications, that we know back at headquarters who has dropped out of the race at your spot. And then we can send that message along to any other aid stations up the chain from you. So they're not looking for runner, 2000 or whatever.
Robin was wondering about pacer check-ins.
Pacer check-ins?
Yeah, it's just so they can get their pacer bib and temperature scans and things.
Yeah, pacers can show up at packet pickup Thursday night, and they can get a pacer bib, because we do have pacer bibs. It just helps identify who's a runner and who's a pacer as they're coming into your aid station. They can also we'll hand out a bunch of those pacer bibs at the crew aid stations from Bandy Creek on. So there's probably 3 or 4 past that. They can check in at Bandy Creek, at Duncan Hollow. Duncan Hollow is kind of a weird one. They'd have to run down to you. We're not letting people drive down there, but we'll put some
bibs.
We'll put some bibs out for them as well. Blue Heron, and then Peters Mountain, or where people can check in. Is that what she was wanting to know, basically? Or
yeah, do they need to check in with the aid station people? Yeah, to get their pacer bib, they just really need to check in with you to get their bib, so we can identify and make sure,
it's not like, if you miss a pacer, if they forget to get a bib, it's not the end of the world.
No.
But it definitely, the whole point really is for helping volunteers identify when 3 runners come in or whatnot, they can tell, oh, okay, these 2 are runners and this one's a pacer because I've got a pacer bib on it. And so that's mostly the point of why we're using the pacer bibs. So
I think that's it.
That's it. We talked about drop bags a little bit, closing aid stations.
We're running the entire race in Central Time Zone. And 99% of the race is actually in Eastern, but the start finish is in Central. So everything is based off Central Time. So you'll just want to check your phone, your watch, anything that adjusts automatically, turn the automatic time settings off and set it to Central Time Zone. So we're all on the same page, because that has created issues in the past, more for the runners, but that way we're not looking at cutting people off at the wrong time or sending them through when they should be cut off. It's just something to remember when you do start running your aid station, is it's going to be Central Time.
Yep. In the handbook, all the supplies that we will give you are listed. When you come to pick up your supplies, you'll get 2 jugs. These are 10-gallon ones, but we have kind of a mixture of 10 and 5-gallon ones. So you'll get jugs, you'll get 3 tables, a canopy, at least 2 large bins with supplies, from the food to pots, pans, utensils, all that kind of stuff.
Now try to make sure you have a checklist so you can run down, because there will be things that don't fit in your bins, like camp stove. If your aid station is getting a camp stove, it should be on your specific aid station list, and you can check that off when you grab it. Depending where you pick up, if you pick up from Picket, you might need to run to the fridge and get cheese, or you know, we'll let you know, because we'll be there to help you load and make sure that you have all of the things. But we'll definitely make checklists, so when you get there, you can visually see what you're going to need and check it off as you put it in your car.
One thing, if you want to bring extra supplies, if you want to bring a second canopy, if you want to bring an extra table to give yourself more space, by all means do so. I mean, it just makes it a little bit more comfortable for you. I would say all the aid stations have the space to spread out and at least put 2 canopies up and multiple tables and stuff. So we give you 3 tables. It's enough to have 2 prepping tables in the back, and then 1 buffer table for the water and the hand sanitizer and stuff. But if you want to give yourself another table, say you wanted to have another table with water and put that somewhere else, move it over and just keep your buffer table more empty, feel free to do that. We do provide you with pennant flag that use it to decorate your aid station, but also we don't want runners thinking that they can, like this is a buffet line where they're running under the tent and coming through and picking everything up. They should know that, but
you're going to be tired at times. So
we've kind of strung some pennant along the sides as just a barrier, just a reminder, like, hey, you're not supposed to be able to come through there. Feel free to do that, or whatever you want to do with the pennant flag.
Yeah, and feel free to, you can chop it. We'll ship with some scissors in your aid, make a runway. Yeah, decorate, just put it wherever that you feel like it's needed. If you want to direct people into your aid station a specific way, and we will be sending signs to remind people to put their mask on, to social distance.
Yeah, there'll be like kind of
put those coming in.
The election yard signs, that go into the ground. Based on how runners are coming into your aid station, you want to put those outside just to remind runners as they come in to social distance and to wear their mask. As far as supplies go as well, things you can bring. We do have a limited number of generators. We have a limited number of camp stoves. Not every aid station, especially the earlier ones, are going to need to really cook anything. There's probably not going to be a ton of requests for, broth and hot foods early in the race. But as the race goes on, people get tired, gets cooler. Those hot foods will become
highly requested.
Yeah, highly requested. So if you have some of these things already, if you have a camp stove, and you want to go ahead and let us know that you'll bring it, we'll provide you with propane. So don't go running out and buying propane. You don't need to do any of that stuff. But things like coolers to maybe hold extra ice, or, I mean, we do have some coolers, but we're pretty remote in where we're at, and to be able to run and get something like ice could take an hour or two. So we'll try to give you things like ice and stuff. So if you have an extra cooler and we can throw some extra ice in there, go ahead and bring that. If you have a generator, you don't necessarily need a generator for any of these aid stations, but if you want to hang up lighting and you don't have battery operated lights, if you want to do like Christmas lighting that plugged in and you wanted to bring a generator, or you just feel like you need a generator for something, maybe you want to hook up a griddle,
make pancakes.
Yeah, and make pancakes for people or something like that. By all means, feel free to do that. If you feel like you're going to need a generator and you don't have one, just go ahead and reach out to us and we'll work something out to get you guys set up.
One thing I would highly suggest that I know everybody has is we will send a cooking kit. It's going to have a saucepan, a fry pan, spatula, soup ladle, and an extra ladle, serving ladle, and more silverware and cutlery and things. but you get what you get, unfortunately. To outfit 15 to 20 aid stations, all of that is enough in itself. So if you guys have your favorite quesadilla pan or your awesome spatula, like if you want to bring them, if you're comfortable bringing them, some extra kitchen kit is great, because we can only send the bare minimum. We only have enough space to send the bare minimum for you guys. So if there's something you feel like you want to bring, and I'm sure most of you have volunteered before, so you know what's useful to you, that would be wonderful. And again,
camping chair, bring a camping chair so you can sit down. We don't provide camping chairs. All that kind of stuff, what we give you and what we suggest you bring, are in the guidebook, the Volunteer Handbook. So you can review that. We'll be putting that out here shortly, like within probably an hour after we finish this up. So.
Any heating supplies? Yes, the propane and the heaters and the fire rings.
Yeah, we will have fire rings for most aid stations that need them, especially the ones later in the race. We have propane. We used these last year. There was a fire ban last year. I don't believe there will be a fire ban this year. We've had plenty of rain this year, but there was a burn ban last year, so we had to buy a bunch of propane top heaters, and we'll be sending those out to some of the later aid stations again. They are extra bulky things that you have to carry, and we can help with some of that, but we do ask that you guys kind of coordinate getting supplies out to your aid station. But yeah, we'll have some of those propane heaters for some of your aid stations as well.
Medical emergencies.
Medical emergencies, the most important thing to do is if you have cell coverage, and a lot of the aid stations, I'd say half of them have cell coverage and some of them don't. Some of them will have Wi-Fi, like at Bandy Creek and Blue Heron. All of them will have some sort of radio communications, though, a two-way radio that either we provide you or that we'll have an amateur radio, ham radio person at your aid station. We're hoping there'll be a ham radio person at every single aid station. They're working that out. The Big South Fork Amateur Radio Club is working that out now to man every aid station, which would be fantastic. In years past, we've been able to do kind of like a combo with some ham radio folks and then giving radios out to volunteers that they use when things come up. It's mostly if you're running out of supplies or if an emergency comes up. So the most important thing is to get on that radio and tell us you have an emergency. If you can dial 911, you definitely want to do that. Especially if it's anything major. If it's a little ankle sprain or like cut abrasion type stuff that's not major, where they're having major bleeding or anything like that. You'll have first aid kits at every aid station. But if it's something that needs attention from emergency management folks, emergency services, we want you to get on the radio with us. And if you can dial 911, do that. If you can't, get on the radio and we'll take care of that. We also will have, in your packet will be like an incident report thing that will help you, like if you come across a runner comes to you with some kind of emergency, just a step-by-step thing to help out when emergency management folks get there. You can kind of have some details for them up front, just kind of give them an extra second.
Catch them up on what's going on.
Yeah, because in emergency situations, every second counts, right? So like to have some kind of guidance for them coming into it, knowing what's going on would be helpful. So we'll include those with every packet.
And sorry to go back to the heating. So yeah, we did a lot of the later aid stations. By that point, there may be extra tents that have sidewalls. So last year with the burn ban, obviously we could be close together. We had the aid stations wall off their aid station and put a heater in. So if there was anybody having issues getting close to hypothermia, they could come and huddle near and close to the heater. Well, obviously we've got social distancing issues this year. So hopefully if it is really cold We will have some extra tents to bring up for the later aid stations if it's necessary, that will have walls. Obviously, if they're going to be in close quarters by the heater because they need to, they obviously need to wear their mask.
Yeah, that'd be them. I mean, if you've got somebody that's like obviously going into shock or hypothermic, where, you know, that's going to trump the COVID, the social distancing thing. So you would want to make sure that they have a mask on. Obviously, they sanitize their hands, and then they come in and then alert us, and we'll get emergency crews out there. So every runner is required to carry an emergency space blanket with them. And we will provide additional emergency space blankets in every supply kit, probably about 4 of those or so. But every runner should be carrying one in case they have an emergency where they need it.
Doug's also a licensed ham radio. So
who?
Doug at Baldom. So Doug,
awesome.
We'll be in touch with you on that if we need that.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, the more people that are licensed that can be kind of on the horn throughout the race would be fantastic. So we will have some medical crews strategically put out across the race as well. So Bandy Creek will have an emergency. We'll have our race day physician there to check on runners. Peters Mountain will have a crew, and then we'll have folks at the start finish as well.
The race day physician will move from Bandy to Blue Heron.
That's right.
Kind of move with the bulk of the runners.
And then we'll probably have someone else kind of stationed in between, maybe roving the course a bit to help us out. Obviously, you know, the counties there in that the race takes place in will know that the race is going on, so they'll have knowledge of the course, and if something comes up and we radio them, we'll be able to direct them to where they need to go. We talked about communication. We talked about
Robin, we may take you up on that. Robin, if we still need sweepers, you could do it early on and then head out. So we'll talk to you on that as Brian fills out the schedule for everything.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get all the aid stations filled first, and then once I know I'd like to have at least 4 people at every aid station. I really feel like you guys can handle with 4 people, because that, you know, you got to have one person checking runners in at least, and then you'll have people that can help assist with food and water. And luckily, I do think you guys not having to fill water bottles this year will allow you to work on some of the other things, such as helping with checking runners in and food. Some also good news is we have, we're not using the spot GPSs on runners this year. We just found those pretty unreliable. And they actually cause more panic for runners and, well, more for crews than anybody. But we'll have 7 aid stations out there where our timing company, Good Times, will have timing mats set up for runners to cross. So that extra level of, I guess, checking runners in will be there for you all. That way, all runners will be chipped. So when they cross over the mats, that these specific aid stations, they'll have a time and like a timestamp for when they checked in and stuff. So we'll be able to cross-reference that as well. But back to the main question about sweepers and stuff. I'm trying to fill all my aid stations up first to make sure we got enough people to take care of runners, and then I will kind of go back and try to fit folks in for sweeping as well. There's some people that have only signed up for sweeping. There's some people that have signed up for both. So if I've got people that can do an early sweep and then go volunteer, or if I got someone who says they're willing to, you know, work an aid station till it closes, and then go sweep a section. That would be great as well. So we'll kind of work on some of those details. But my first focus is just make sure I've got all these aid stations covered. In the handbook, there's the schedule of events kind of thing, when things are going on, when they're starting, for the whole weekend. Again, all the aid station, the aid station list is in there. So once you find out what aid station you're going to be at, you'll be able to find directions on how to get there, and what time the aid station needs to open, how long it kind of takes from the pickup spot to that aid station. And if any of this stuff is like, I'm not sure, go ahead and ask Shelly or I. Send us a message. We'll help with you guys getting all those details. But it should be in the handbook. Anything else? All the all the like contact information, my contact information, Shelly's, and then all the like race staff, even the land management agency, all their contact information is in this handbook as well. So if you're having trouble contacting one of us and you need to reach out to Big South Fork or Pickett State Park and try to get in touch with a ranger or something, that information is in there as well. I think that is the majority of what we wanted to go over. I don't know if there's anything. I wanted to do this on Zoom, so if anybody wanted to chat versus type in, if you want to shout something out, ask questions, we can hopefully answer some of your questions about this. If you volunteered in the past, again, things have changed a little bit this year with the start, and where we're starting and the time and day we're starting. So instead of on Saturday up at Blue Heron, the start is at the group camp by Pickett State Park, and the start is at 10 a.m. on Friday, October 16th. We will have some food available at packet pickup Friday or Thursday evening. There's going to be a food truck up there. So if you're wanting to come hang out and stuff, social distancing wise, but you can still come up there. We'll have a food truck up there that's going to be serving people. Should have some beer as well and drinks and stuff. And our food truck hopefully should be there all weekend, and should be helping serve volunteers for the whole weekend. We're out there all the way through Saturday evening. So once you're done volunteering at your aid station and it shuts down, please come bring your supplies back to Pickett or wherever you're dropping them off, and come to Pickett and come hang out with us. We do want to make sure we're wearing our mask where we can't social distance, but Pickett is the group camp is a pretty big space. We've got a lot of area where you can spread out and stuff. Just make sure you're being smart and safe. And we've got restrooms and stuff there as well. We'll have Campfire Coffee out of Jamestown. We'll be on site race weekend. They'll be at the first aid station
Friday morning
when the race starts. So if you need to swing by the rec lodge at Pickett, that's like Pickett proper where the suspension bridge is and stuff, and you want to grab a cup of coffee, you can swing by there. Then they're going to come over to the start finish and be there Saturday as the race is ending. So please don't feel like you just got to come work your aid station and leave. We'd love to celebrate the weekend with you. It's going to be those kind of last
every finish.
Yeah, every finish. But I mean, it's pretty amazing and emotional for a lot of people, and inspiring. So feel free when you finish up to come by and hang out. As long as you're doing it smart, social distancing and stuff, but feel free to come by and experience the finish line with us and stuff, and grab some food and something to drink and all that. I don't know if there's anything else. If you're interested in Any course marking, I could certainly use help with that this year. Even if you live out near the area and you can help with even arranging a shuttle, that to me is probably bigger than somebody even running all day marking trails. Just if I'm able to get dropped off at a spot and not have to run 10 miles one way and 10 miles back, if I can get dropped off, I can cover more ground and get back to my vehicle and stuff. So, but if you just want to come and hang out and walk on the trails and mark with me for a couple hours, I welcome that too. I think that's about it, unless you have questions. Again, hope to have all the assignments out, at least where you're going to be for aid stations, and this handbook out. The handbook will come out today, and then the aid station spots, or all the volunteer spots, should be either by this evening or sometime early tomorrow, by tomorrow night, Monday. So that's it. If anybody has any more questions, go ahead and throw them up there now, or shout them out, and we'll answer them. And again, we'll save this and we'll put this out there for people if you didn't get to see it, or if you want someone to see it. And if you have anybody who wants to volunteer or is interested, and you can convince them to come do it, we'd love to have as many people as possible. Just have them either reach out to us or sign up on Ultra Sign Up.
So you've got a couple who are available for the shuttle or help trail marking. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And we'll see you in 19 days. If nobody's got any other questions, thank you for spending Sunday afternoon with us, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Looking forward to it.
I can't.